I just triaged 47 GitHub issues in under 2 minutes and didn't touch a single one manually. You know that feeling. You open GitHub in the morning and there's like 20 new issues staring at you. Half of them are duplicates, a few are actual fires, and you've got to sort through all of it before you write a single line of code. We're gonna fix that today. I walk you through an MCP powered agent that handles the whole triage for you, and the priority logic is surprisingly simple. So MCP, or Model Context Protocol, is basically a standard way for Claude Code to talk to external tools. Instead of you writing a bunch of custom API wrappers, you set up an MCP server that exposes GitHub operations as tools Claude Code can call. Now here's the thing, it doesn't just code them blindly. It looks at each issue, figures out what to do, and chains multiple tool calls together on its own. That's what makes this agentic. Here's how the whole thing flows. First we fetch all the open issues. Then Claude Code classifies each one, bug, feature request, question, and assigns a priority. Finally, it drafts a response comment and suggests who should own it. Notice that all the classification logic lives right in the prompt. You write the rules once and it just applies them across everything. That's all you need to know. Alright, you have seen the architecture. Now let's actually build it, starting with the MCP server that gives Claude Code access to your GitHub repo. We start by creating a new Python virtual environment, and we also activate it. After that we need 3 dependencies, the MCP Python SDK to build our server, PyGitHub to talk to the GitHub API, and Python.env so we're not hard coding tokens. The next step is to create a new file and call it .env. Here we specify our GitHub token and our GitHub repo name. Next we create our server.py file. We start by importing fast MCP from the SDK. That's the high-level API that lets us define tools with just a decorator. We also pull in PyGitHub and load our environment variables. Notice we're initializing the GitHub client right at the module level. The MCP server keeps this connection alive across tool calls, so we're not re-authenticating every time Claude Code hits a tool. Here is our first tool, fetch issues. We decorate it with MCP tool, and fastMCP automatically generates the tool definition from the function signature and docstring. So Claude Code will know exactly what this tool does and when to call it. We're pulling open issues and returning the title, body, existing labels, and who created it. That's all the context Claude Code needs to classify each one. Next up is label issue. This is how Claude Code actually applies its classification. It takes an issue number and a list of label names and applies them. The important thing to notice here is that we're calling create label with a try except. If the label already exists in your repo, we just grab it. If it doesn't, we create it on the fly, so you don't need to pre-configure anything. And the last tool is post comment. This one is straightforward. Claude Code calls it to drop a triage response directly to the issue. It takes the issue number and the comment body, posts it, and returns a confirmation. With these 3 tools, we've got the full loop. Fetch, label, and comment. That's the pipeline we talked about in the slides. And finally, we just need the entry point to actually start the server. MCP Run launches it using std.io transport. That's the default, and it's exactly what Claude Code expects for local MCP servers. Alright, now comes the fun part, wiring it up to Claude Code. One command is all we need to register our MCP server. We don't need to pass environment variables here because our server.py already loads them from the .env file with load.env. The scope local flag means this server is only available in the current project. Once we run this, Claude Code knows about our 3 tools: fetch, label, and comment. If the MCP server was added successfully, you should see an output like this. Alright, before we do the full test, let's first verify that the connection is working successfully. I have my Claude Code open in the project folder. I'll first ask it to fetch all the issues that we have open in our GitHub repo. It will most likely ask you for permissions to proceed executing this command. Great, here you can see that it found our 5 open issues and it says that there are no labels in any of them. It already saw that they range from critical bugs to doc gaps, a question, and a feature request. Alright, now we're going to give Claude Code the full triage instructions. This is the prompt-driven classification we covered earlier. All the priority logic lives right in this prompt. We tell it the categories, the priority levels, and exactly how to handle each issue. And the cool part is that Claude Code chains the tools together on its own. It fetches the issues, reads each one, decides the label and priority, then posts a response comment. Let's run it and see what happens. It again asks for permissions, so I'll just allow it and tell it not to ask again for GitHub triage. We need to also give permissions for the other 2 invocations. Great, let's check the summary. All of our open issues were classified. They were also assigned priority level, and you can also see the reasoning behind Claude Code's decisions. Let's also see the issues tab in our GitHub repository. You can see that Claude Code has assigned priority levels to each one of the open issues. Let's open one of them and see what it did. You can see that it added some additional nodes for the issue, and it actually did it for all of the issues that we have open in our repository. It also nicely classified which one is a bug, which one is documentation issue, which is a question, and which is a feature request. Alright, let's look at what we've got. We've spun up an MCP server that gives Claude Code direct access to your GitHub repo. It can read issues, swap on labels, and post comments. Then we set up the prompt logic that actually classifies everything by type and priority. So your P0 bugs aren't sitting under a pile of feature requests anymore. And the cool part, Claude Code drafts a response and suggests who should pick it up based on how you have defined ownership. This isn't a toy, you can wire this into a real repo right now. Grab the starter code from the description, tweak the priority rules to match your team, and let it rip. If you want more agent builds like this, stuff that actually saves you time, hit subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.